Welcome to the Getty-Dubay Italic Letter of the Day video series, where we use the Getty-Dubay Handwriting Success App to talk about best practices for each letter of the alphabet, one at a time. This video is for parents of school children, teachers, and adults who would like to work on their own handwriting. You can follow along using the app or any of the Getty-Dubay Italic handwriting workbooks, or simply use lined paper. Your handwriting can go places. Today we are looking at the letter L. We're starting with a 9mm body height, and that corresponds to a standard grade school writing paper. If you're using this lined paper, be sure to make the body height the full distance from one line to the next. Since letter L is in family 1, let's go over and review some of the vocabulary that will be at play in this video. The letter L takes advantage of the baseline. It sits on the baseline, as do most letters, unless they have a descender. It goes up through the waistline all the way to the ascender line. And notice that in italic, the ascender line is only half the height of the full body height, unlike with some other writing styles. So the L only goes up 50% higher than the regular body height of a letter. And as I mentioned, we are using a 9mm body height to start. We'll go down to a 5mm height in a bit. And the body height is the height of most of the lowercase letters, like the I, or sometimes it is called the X height. Now when we go to the L, it's a deceptively simple letter, but it shows us some very important concepts. First of all, a straight line. It's our longest vertical line in the alphabet. One thing that helps as we trace and copy the models is to breathe out on the downstroke. That gives us a nice straight line. So we're going over here to the dashed line and tracing as well. Tracing the model again. This is establishing our slope and our spacing. The slope angle is important because that needs to be consistent. It doesn't matter so much what slope you prefer, and your letters could be closer if you prefer as well, but it's really important that they're consistent. If you have one L looking like that and one L looking like that, that wouldn't be so good. And there are a number of double L words in the English language. So let's go down to our last tracing model. And let's go solo. That was the rehearsal. Here's the performance. Don't forget to breathe out. That was pretty good. Let's do it again, establishing that consistent spacing. Notice how those are fairly close. I'm going to try to space these exactly the same way. Let's move to the cursive italic version of the L. And as you can see, we're going from the ascender line all the way through the waistline down to the baseline with a straight line, and in the cursive form we have a little serif that allows us to join to the next letter. Let's trace again the dashed line below, down and up, slight curve for the serif. We want to make sure that the serif doesn't get exaggerated or flattened. So essentially the L is still just a a straight vertical line. The serif is just a little bit of a hint on the bottom. And here's our chance to combine the letter L with other letters. It's very important that students practice, but the usefulness of repeating the letter over and over by itself diminishes greatly after about 6 or 7 copies. It's best to get right in there and combine that letter with other letters. So in this case, we're going to be practicing the letter L joining into the letter N. And this is an example of how that serif lets us take one letter to the next. It's essentially reporting how the pencil or pen or stylus is moving as it goes from one letter to another. You can decide to lift between those two letters if you like. And now we're going to put the letter L together with some others, and in this case practicing some cursive italic joins. So just to review, we did the lowercase basic italic L, and we did the lowercase cursive italic L with the little serif on the bottom. And now we're going to combine that with some other letters. It's good to get right in there and start practicing letters joining together in combinations or words. Here we get a chance to look at the history, and this is on page 68 in the Getty-Dubay Handwriting Success App. It all begins with the Egyptian hieroglyph for ox goad here. And that was later simplified by the Phoenicians and turned around, as you can see. The Greeks borrowed that, and because their writing was sometimes right to left and alternately left to right, the letter lambda faced different directions. Later we can see the Romans set that L on its side to create the capital L that we know today. And they used a brush to write that letter. But later on, the edged pen was used. And notice how in the rustic L, that horizontal line at the baseline was greatly diminished. And over time, that little line became less and less important, until eventually in the 15th century italic we have the modern lowercase l, which goes from the ascender line all the way down to the base line. And here is the basic italic L, no serif, and the cursive italic L with a serif at the bottom. And notice it's really important not to put a loop in that L, otherwise it could be confused for other letters. Let's keep that L nice and simple.